Welcome to Fad or Fab, Diet Trends Decoded with the Nutritionist. I'm Dr. Loh Chai Ling, and today we have a very special guest, Jaclyn Reutens. Jaclyn is a clinical and sports dietitian with over 20 years of experience specializing in general nutrition, weight management, and preventative nutrition. Today, we will be deep diving into effective diets for weight loss, maintaining muscle mass for women, and Jaclyn's expert take on the latest diet fads like keto, carnivore, vegan, and vegetarian diets. So let's get started. So nice to have you here with us today. Well, a lot of patients have been asking me about weight loss. Can you tell us what are the best diets to lose weight?
Okay, so the best diet is one that suits their lifestyle and their food preferences. Okay, so if there are like those, if I had to pick two particular diets for weight loss, like those are general diets that are being recommended, I would actually say the Mediterranean diet and the plant-based diets. Yeah, so the Mediterranean diet actually focuses a lot on whole grains, fruits, vegetables, beans, chickpeas, lentils. And they have very little red meat inside. They have some fish, definitely a lot of fish, but very little red meat. Highly processed foods containing a lot of sugar, trans fats.
So that's out of the question, right?
Yeah, that's out of the question. So, and the plant-based diet. So a plant-based diet is not a vegetarian diet. It's not a vegan diet as well. So because it's called plant-based. So plant-based means that the diet is mainly based on plants, but they allow a small intake of red meat, fish, and even poultry as well.
As long as it's largely plant-based.
Exactly. So the focus is also on whole grains, fruits, vegetables, beans, chickpeas, lentils. So actually a lot of focus on plant-based proteins.
Oh, I see. So let's say somebody in Singapore, is it actually easy to follow this kind of diets, the Mediterranean and the plant-based, you think?
Actually, it's very easy to follow, just that people didn't really try very hard. Because we have a wide variety of fruits and vegetables.
Yes,
we
it's true.
also get a lot of nuts and seeds. We have brown rice, we have wholemeal bread. So a lot of whole grains, even oatmeal that's easily available to us. I think in general, we have too much meat in Singapore. So people just need to cut back. People actually need to look at diets differently. Because if I ask you, what did you have for dinner? You might say, I had a steak for dinner or like chicken for dinner. It's very meat-centric. So we need to change that focus to maybe something like having like lovely grilled asparagus or even something like broccoli, like something like that. So I think we're just very meat-centric. So I think we need to take the attention away and then we find it easier. And in Singapore, we have a beautiful array of beans, lentils, even tofu.
So if let's say I'm interested in plant-based, how much of this diet should be plant and how much is meat? Because we know when you say a bit of meat, for some people it's one sausage, for me it could be one whole big steak, but I think that's a no-no, right?
Yes. So if you break up our meals into, let's say 3 meals a day, so 3 times 7 is 21 meals, I would say maybe 3 or 4 of those meals will contain animal protein. So a very small percentage. So maybe like 3 or 4 dinners or 2 lunches, 2 dinners will contain animal protein, and the other meals, your protein will come from your beans, chickpeas, lentils, tofu. Nuts and seeds.
So how about calorie counting then? If somebody wants to lose weight, or if they go on these diets, you don't really bother counting the calories, just eat until they're full.
So the thing is that I'm not a big fan of rigorous calorie counting. I don't mind just to have an estimation of how many calories you actually need. But if you go into the details of how much calories you have for lunch, breakfast, dinner, first of all, you're going to be too obsessed with numbers. And if you're too obsessed, you may even lead to disordered eating or eating disorders. So I would actually say have a rough idea of how many calories that you actually need, but you don't have to like deep dive straight into where those calories actually come from, but just have a guide. So calorie counting is something that is something we don't really advocate because first of all, unless you prepare all your foods yourself, you don't really know how many calories you're actually eating.
That's true.
So
they do have these apps though, where they you can sort of like have a rough guide of your calories. Are they useful though for your patients?
I think they are. A lot of my patients actually use them. It's quite useful for them, but I just tell them take the numbers with a pinch of salt. Just like how when we see on our watches where it tells us how many calories we have burnt on those machines, like it's good to know, but take it with a pinch of salt. Just know that you burn the calories and how many calories you're actually ingesting, but don't live by those numbers.
So basically what you're saying is the macronutrients matter more than the calories, correct?
That's correct, So macronutrients in particular would be carbohydrates, proteins, and fats, because each of these nutrients, they offer different benefits to the body, because our body calls them macronutrients because they are nutrients that are required in large amounts that are essential for the body, meaning that our body cannot produce them
Yeah.
So we need to get them externally, or our body doesn't produce enough of them. And within each, like for example, protein, that gives us amino acids, that has different functions in our body. The fats contain essential fatty acids, different functions.
Yes.
So we must also understand that one macronutrient cannot replace the other.
Yes.
Because most of the time people will be like, okay, let's take away carbs and just eat protein in place of carbs.
Yes, I was about to ask you. Yeah.
It's a big thing. So poor carbs, they've been demonized by the entire world. That's bad for us. But we are trying to encourage people to actually eat more carbs, but low glycemic index carbs, and it's the quantity that really matters. So we shouldn't say no carbs at all.
So when you say low glycemic index, right? Could you give an example of carbs that are low glycemic index?
So low glycemic index is the impact of carbohydrates on your blood sugar levels. So for example, if something is high glycemic index, like sugar for example.
Yeah.
So if you eat sugar, your blood sugar level spikes up. So that's called high glycemic index.
Okay.
But if you eat something like a sweet potato, for example, it's like low glycemic index. That means if you eat it, your blood sugar level doesn't spike up. It's a very gentle rise. So that is preferred, because when you get a spike, it's followed by a dip. When you get the dip, that's when you get the hunger pangs again, the cravings, and then you end up snacking. So it's actually better for you to go more often for low to medium glycemic index.
So more a natural food than sort of processed food where there's added sugar. That would be. And how about the way we cook our food? Does that change it from high to low glycemic index maybe?
Yes, a little bit. You know, like even like the temperature also makes a difference. But actually, we don't need to be too technical about it, unless you're diabetic, and then you really need to worry about how it's being cooked and whether or not it's cold or hot. But in general, for most of us, we don't always recommend it's impossible for us to eat whole grains at every single meal. Right? Yeah, like maybe you might get brown rice for dinner, but you're not going to eat brown rice for lunch and dinner. So at least try and get some whole grains, which is low glycemic index, at least once a day. And then the other two meals you might have to do with white rice. And we live in Singapore. If you go to a hawker center, they hardly have brown rice or like brown rice bee hoon. Okay, fine, have your rice, but then we must make sure that we try not to overeat. So depending on your nutritional needs, some people have to eat the entire plate of rice. Some of us don't. So you need to know what suits you, and then you eat accordingly to your body type and what your nutritional needs are.
But is there a limit you give your patients who may want to maintain weight or lose weight, like never have more than a certain amount of, I don't know?
So a very general guide, I would say that whatever they serve you in terms of rice and noodles, you eat half.
Oh, that's very useful.
Yeah, so you try to tell people, auntie like less noodles, less rice, but they tend to be still very generous. So you have to eyeball the portion, use your own discretion, and then take half, and then make sure that you always get your vegetables. So, I mean, vegetables in Singapore, in our local context, is quite hard to get unless you eat like cai fan or yong tau foo. Try and ask for more where possible. So not every meal is going to be a perfect meal.
But you just do the best.
Do the best that you can.
So in your opinion, why are carbs so important? Because now there are so many fad diets. There's low carb or no carbs, but then it's the first I'm hearing that carbs are actually okay.
Not just okay, they are very important for weight loss. So the reason is because carbohydrate makes you feel satisfied with your meal. You have this satiety factor. If you eat a very high protein diet, you don't really get satisfied. You just keep eating and eating until you feel too full just by sheer volume. But if you're eating some carbs, like maybe like a cup of rice or a cup of noodles, you find that you stop eating earlier. And secondly, carbohydrate, and I'm referring to starchy carbohydrates like your rice, potato, pasta, noodles, they add bulk to your stools. So it helps with better bowel movement. And if you're going for the high fiber carbs, you actually have prebiotics in there, in the whole grains. So that's food for the probiotics. And carbohydrates also makes you feel calmer. You know that food coma effect that we have? So people on high protein diets tend to be very angst and very like bad temper. So if you eat some carbs, it actually calms you down. We live in a very stressful society.
So that's good for women because I mean, some women, they're quite angsty sometimes on the month. So that's okay. Is that why sometimes for us women, we also do crave carbs a bit?
Exactly. So what we'll do is that typically a lot of ladies I'm going to go for like protein and vegetables. So they have like maybe a salad, maybe like tuna and vegetables. And then 2 hours later, they get hungry, and then they might reach for some chocolate. You know, they're looking for they keep getting very peckish. So people who actually don't eat carbs tend to snack a lot.
I see.
But when they snack, they're still conscious of not having carbs. So they'll eat like a lot of nuts, they'll try and go high protein, this and that, but then they never feel satisfied. So that satiety factor is actually really important for ladies especially.
I see.
So it's all about the quantity. So yes, the quality is carbs, but how much do you eat? And that depends on you. So as a rough guide, you know, those measuring cups they used to bake, have 1 cup per meal.
Wow, that's very generous, you know.
That's what a lot of people think, but actually if you ate it, you probably won't be snacking like 2 or 3 times between lunch to dinner. So the calories that you're eating is actually a lot lesser than if you would be picking on your biscuits and your chips and your curry puff, having your bubble teas.
I see, because they all add to the bulk, right? Then how about like the sequence that we eat? You know, some people say that you should try to eat all the vegetables first, and you know, there are some people who eat fruits first. I don't know if that makes sense at all.
So the sequencing works, especially if you're trying to control the glycemic index of your meal. So a lot of our diabetic patients, we recommend sequencing because it really works. So you eat your vegetables first, followed by the carbs and the protein. So this means you don't get a spike. And of course, people are diabetic, they're a bit more susceptible to that.
Yes.
But and it helps for people who are not diabetic too. It helps to keep you fuller, makes you fuller faster. Therefore, you end up eating less. Now, the fruits before mealtime, there's this whole notion about fermentation, or fibers. So I can just tell you safely there's no truth to that. Eat your fruits whenever you want it. If you want to eat it before a meal, that's entirely up to you, but it offers no benefit.
There's no benefit, right? It's better to eat the vegetables first. So, you know, I understand you work with a lot of diabetic patients. Is one of the ways to control their diabetes through weight loss? Like helping them lose weight and then
so most of the patients I see are type 2 diabetics and they tend to be overweight. So when I help them to lose weight, it does help with their glycemic control. And usually, so you know how diabetes happens is not just because you eat a lot of carbohydrates and therefore you get diabetes. So it's a bit more complex than that. So the saturated fat actually covers the insulin receptors. That's why the insulin doesn't work properly. So if you have a lot of food that contains a lot of saturated fat, what happens is that your caloric intake increases, therefore they gain weight. So when I actually remove the saturated fat from their diet, their calorie intake drops and therefore they lose weight. So it's an indirect way of managing their diabetes.
So for a diabetic diet, would you also recommend a Mediterranean or a plant-based diet?
Yes, almost all the time. But I do find in Singapore that a plant-based diet is a bit better because most people still like to eat their meats. They still like to eat their chicken, their pork, their beef. So I'll tell them, okay, just limit the amount. If you're doing it like in 10 meals in a week, cut it down to like 8 meals a week. So I find that's
not every meal has a bit of meat, right?
No.
And they can take eggs and milk?
They can take eggs, and usually for dairy products, which is your milk, cheese and yogurt, we recommend the low-fat versions. Or the Greek yogurt, which is high in protein.
I see. So basically the aim is to cut down the fat for people with the diabetes, correct?
That's right.
So, you know, I've heard of all these keto diet that people says is so effective and you see that all over social media. What do you think of that? Does that really help to lose weight?
Okay, so the keto diet, you know, it focuses very high fat, moderate protein, and very low in carbs. Like 50 grams of carbs, which is like almost nothing at all. So in short, no, I don't recommend it because I've seen people who've actually done the keto diet. Yes, they've lost the weight, but I had a couple of patients who actually became insulin resistant and also their cholesterol levels skyrocketed.
I see.
So the weight loss is there, but I think it's very temporary. And because of the diet, the diet actually doesn't allow you to eat a lot of fruits and vegetables because they contain carbohydrate. What you deem is carbohydrate. So the patient's gut microbiome also gets damaged.
I see.
And I know that people have done keto diets for like 1 to 3 years.
That's so long.
It's very long. Of course, there are people who have done like 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, and they give up on it because they love their carbs so much. So the problem with these diets is that it's a very restrictive diet. So the people behave like a pendulum. It becomes all or nothing. And when they swing back to carbs again, they eat carbs with a vengeance. Whatever weight they have lost has come back again. And then these diets don't actually teach them anything about nutrition. It just teaches them to be restrictive. And most of the time, it makes them feel a bit, they get constipated, they get quite tired because of, you don't have the carbs. Your brain needs glucose to function. If you suddenly cut it out from your diet, of course, you'll feel the brain fog, tiredness, energy slumps. So I don't really recommend the keto diet at all.
Because I was just about,
short term.
Because I was about to ask you, can it be maintained for the long term? Because I do think that it's actually quite restrictive. I've seen my friends go on it, they cannot even have the sauce on the chicken. So it's really just plain chicken breast.
I mean, people can follow it, and many people will try it, and
Yeah.
everyone likes to try something new. It's like a novelty diet. But this can actually lead to disordered eating and eating disorders.
Yes.
And this actually makes people who are frequent dieters try it. And then they try, they fail. And they try, they fail. The psychological damage to such dieting is really very bad.
You know, on top of the keto, I've heard of the Lion's diet, where they just eat beef and water. The carnivore diet.
The carnivore diet,
Yeah.
yes. The carnivore diet is even more restrictive than the keto diet. It doesn't even allow any carbs at all, like
Yes.
not even a single fruit or vegetable. Even for the dairy, I think it's only cheese, because milk and yogurt, they contain some lactose.
Yeah.
So it's even worse. So the gut microbiome totally gets destroyed.
Yes.
Yeah, I've had people who have done like 1/2 kilogram of red meat just being on a carnivore diet before.
My goodness.
Yeah, so
and do they lose weight? Do they see any benefits?
Usually these people are into weight training.
I see. So they need the high protein
They
load.
need the high protein. So they use that, because I need high protein, I might as well do this. And the entire gym is doing it. Everyone's doing it. So it becomes like a group thing.
Yeah.
And they support each other.
Yeah.
But it doesn't last very long, I can tell you that. They
Yeah.
will just, I'll be like, okay, that's not good. But
Let's see how long you can last.
Yes.
Because one important point you brought up is the gut microbiome. I think not many people focus on that, but it is very important to look at our gut, isn't it?
it is.
Yeah.
So good gut health also is linked to our brain. There's
Yeah.
a gut-brain axis.
Yes.
And also the gut is is part of your immunity. If your gut health is poor, you tend to fall sick a lot more easily.
Right. And how do we improve our gut microbiome? Through the diet?
You can do it through the diet.
Yeah.
Things like yogurt is really good,
Yeah.
like sauerkraut,
Yeah.
like probiotics. I usually tell people just to take a probiotic supplement.
Okay.
It's a lot easier that way, because
Yes.
our diet doesn't have a lot of yogurt. Most of us are lactose intolerant.
Yeah.
So but as I told you before about the prebiotics,
Which is found in the carbs.
we found the carbs. They're the whole grain carbs. So your fruits, your vegetables, the stems of your fruits and vegetables, they contain the prebiotics, which is food for your probiotics.
I see. And how important is it for our food to be organic? Yeah.
Not important.
Not important. I'm so glad to hear it, because organic is so expensive. But I know some people who tell me, no, you can totally not eat any food that's not organic. But it's so expensive in Singapore to maintain that.
It is very expensive, and I want to tell everybody that if you don't eat organic, you're not doing yourself a disservice.
Yeah.
If you can afford organic, go ahead. The nutritional value with non-organic and organic foods is very similar. They
Okay.
are not superior.
They're not superior, right? One other thing about women that actually try all this carnivore diet is because they are worried they don't get enough protein. Because now there is this whole thing about women when they reach menopause, they're gaining weight, they're losing muscle, so they feel like they need more protein. Do you think the Mediterranean diet and the plant-based diet can still support a woman in that transition?
Definitely. So
Right.
they need to do more planning.
Okay.
There are people who are they have been vegetarians all their life, lacto-ovo vegetarians all their life, and they can still have muscle. So
Right.
this means that a bit more planning is involved.
Okay.
So what I normally recommend is that everybody needs to know what their nutritional needs are for protein.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's between 1 to 1.5 grams of protein per kg body weight.
That's
as a
actually very
general guide.
generous,
Yeah, 1 to 1.5. Yes, for people, because now a lot of people are weight training now, they're exercising I think they're listening to advice,
Yes.
so we want to guide them properly.
Yeah.
So find out where you are, find out your nutritional needs, and make sure that you have enough protein spread out evenly with each meal. So breakfast, lunch, dinner, a high protein snack, plan it, count it a little bit. So a bit of planning is involved. So I don't want you to rigorously count calories of protein, but have a rough guide. So find out where the protein is in food. For example, like beans, chickpeas, lentils, how much protein is there in half a cup or 1 cup? What do you normally eat? An egg has 7 grams of protein.
Right.
And it's important after they work out to eat protein within 30 minutes to 1 hour after they work out to grow the muscle fibers again.
I see.
So some planning is involved.
And that's only for resistance training, right?
Resistance training.
Okay.
Yes.
How about those people who don't manage to get it all from these sources? Can they take a protein supplement?
They can, but try not to.
Okay.
Yeah, because it overloads the kidneys.
Right.
High chances of kidney stones. And when you take protein supplements, you need to make sure you drink a lot of water as well. Now, water is something that I find a lot of women forget to do. They don't drink enough water.
That's true.
A lot of my patients, it doesn't matter what age they are. So how much water do you drink? They'll be like, not enough, or maybe 1, maybe 1.5. I do get those who drink, they say a lot, but that's a very small number of people. So ladies don't drink enough water. They don't like to go to the toilet. Find it very troublesome.
That's true, yes.
And for older ladies, because of urinary incontinence, the more they don't want to drink water.
But why is water so important?
So put it this way, your metabolism, needs water. Water is a catalyst in everything you do. You exercise, even fat burning. Water transports the nutrients all over your body. So you may be eating all this good food, but if you don't drink enough water, how's it going to be carried all over?
Yes.
And it helps also with bowel movements too.
Okay.
Yeah, because if you don't have enough water, so fiber is like a sponge, If it's very dry, it's going to stay hard. If you drink a lot of water, that's going to soften and then your stools come out better. You feel, and a lot of people confuse thirst with hunger. So you may think that, and I find women who have a sweet tooth, they say, I keep eating my chocolate, but it's not enough. So I tell them, drink some water first and see if you still need that sweet.
Well, that's actually a good trick. Maybe you should drink some water first before you even binge, right?
Yeah, that's right. Because your brain confuses those two signals.
Okay.
So when you feel a sensation, you think that you're hungry, try drinking water first and maybe that sensation goes away.
Okay.
You're probably just thirsty, but usually dehydrated here.
I see. So how much water as a rough guide, like a normal working woman?
About 2 liters a day. That's like 8
liters a day,
glasses. So one glass is about 250 ml.
Okay.
So 8 glasses a day.
How about those people who don't like drinking water? I mean, I'm okay with water, but I have patients who just drink, say, like Diet Coke, or it has to be, it's artificial sweeteners. But how is that sitting with you?
Okay, so Diet Coke, from a calorie perspective, there's no calories at all, but they contain phosphoric acid.
Okay.
If you drink too much of it, it takes calcium from your bones.
I see.
So the occasional Diet Coke, not a problem at all. But try and get water from plain water, or if you can, maybe put a tea bag in there.
Okay.
So a decaffeinated tea bag, those flower teas, rooibos teas. And these days people are doing like lemon water. Okay, lemon has no extra benefits, it just adds flavor only.
I see.
Okay.
Makes it more palatable.
Makes it more palatable.
Okay.
Maybe like a fruit infused water.
I see.
But try to drink water on its own, because when you're in your home setting, you can have all these fancy drinks, but imagine if you travel or you're out on the go, it doesn't mean you're not going to drink water at all. I think water drinking is actually a habit. You need to cultivate that habit. People are a bit lazy doing that.
And not drink when you are thirsty. That's what you're trying to say, right? Consciously drink even when you're not thirsty.
Yes, so try and drink maybe every 1 or 2 hours. And when you do drink, I tell my patients when you drink, don't take 1-2 sips. You just down the whole glass. Force yourself to drink until...
Down it like it's vodka.
Like it's vodka, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Maybe beer, vodka is a bit too strong. So just
okay.
down it, because you need to practice drinking water until it becomes a habit. Because if you don't drink enough water, I can tell you that a lot of problems can arise from that.
Right. Okay. So, for women who are perimenopausal or menopausal, you think they have no problems finding enough protein from all these plant sources? Because, if they're not eating the steak or the chicken, will they be having lack of protein in the long run?
Not really. Actually, if they plan it well, they can. And because it's a plant-based diet, they can have more protein when they actually do eat the meat. Because they can eat meat about 3 or 4 times a week. Okay. So that's when they get maybe more of the protein. Your protein intake doesn't have to be exactly the same every day. That's why I say rigorous calorie counting or rigorous protein counting is not very feasible, because you get too stressed. As long as overall over the week, the average is there, about plus minus 10%
that makes sense.
a day.
Maybe more on the weekend.
Something like that.
But the animal sources of protein and the plant-based sources, will it be different? As in, like, the animal sources are more complete, so if they take plant-based, do they need to supplement in any way? Yes,
so animal protein is definitely more complete. So that's why when you do a plant-based diet using a plant protein, the planning involves maybe making sure that, like, for example, you do beans on toast, and you can maybe do tofu together with eggs. So you do a bit of pairing. So that's why I said a bit of planning is involved.
Okay. And if they don't know how to pair, so is this where the food apps come in, or do they have to do some research, or that's where they come to you and then you plan out the diet for them?
Yeah, actually they just come to your dietitian. Or actually, if you have a variety of proteins in your diet, so you just go through the beans, chickpeas, lentils, nuts and seeds, eggs, and you do a bit of dairy, you will get the complete set of protein already.
Okay. Yeah. Is that what you eat mainly? Because you certainly don't look like you are overweight. So is that your main bulk of the meal, all these plant-based?
I love a plant-based diet. I think it suits me very well. I'm not a very big meat eater, but I do enjoy my meats. Don't get me wrong, I do enjoy my meats, but I do pay attention to having a bit more tofu in our diet. In Singapore, it's more tofu, and I do like the lentils.
And you have been on it all your life?
No, not all my life. Maybe the last couple of years only.
And you find that it's been helping you keep the shape, energy levels and all?
I think energy levels are good, and I find that when I do eat meat these days, I can't eat too much of it. I actually do get a bit tired.
Oh, really?
Yes. So a plant-based diet really helps in terms for lowering your cardiovascular risk.
Okay. So you've always been on
I've
it.
always been, but last few years, and I feel great.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm very happy to go out. I'll go to a Thai fan store and order my 2 veg and 1 tofu, no problem at all.
Okay.
But I've got my friends who be like, "Where's your meat?" I said, "No, I don't eat meat. It's okay." So that's what I mean that we are very meat centric. Without meat, the meal is not complete.
Yes.
It should not be seen that way. The meal is just as complete without animal protein. We need to shift our focus.
Yes. Do the main bulk being all these plant-based. Okay. How about dessert? Do you have a sweet tooth? And what do you think about allowing your clients to eat dessert?
Okay, so yes, they can. If they ask, I'll be like, yes, you can, but can we limit it to 2 or 3 times a week, please? So it cannot be every day. And if you have it on a Monday, try not to have it again on a Tuesday, because then your body begins to crave the sugar.
Yes.
And if you have it 2 days in a row, most likely on the 3rd day, you will eat it again. And then
it's like reinforcing a bad habit, you think?
Exactly. So if you keep giving to your cravings, then bad habits build up. But if you would eat it twice a week, there's really no problem in doing that. And of course, keep the portion small.
Okay. And eating the dessert at the end of the meal makes more sense, right, than snacking on desserts. Because I presume if you have already all this fiber and carbs in you, then maybe you will absorb the sugar less. Does that make sense?
It makes sense, but it's more because if you had a full meal and then you had a piece of cake, you feel fuller with a smaller piece.
Yeah.
If you were to eat the cake in the middle of the afternoon, like 3 hours after lunch, you'll finish the entire big piece.
Okay.
So learn to enjoy desserts in smaller quantities.
So it sounds like for you, sugar is still a big no-no, right? Because, I mean, they're present in dessert, and you think that it's going to spike your blood sugar.
Yeah, I think that we cannot be void of added sugar in our diet. It's everywhere, but let's try not to make it so intentional. I don't want to say you can't do it, because it is in our diet.
Yeah.
But when you're eating it, just know that you're eating it. Just be mindful of the portions that you're eating. People love our cakes, chocolates, ice cream.
Yes.
Have a scoop of ice cream once every 2 or 3 days. There's nothing wrong with that. But you have 3 scoops with chocolate sauce and a whole bunch of marshmallows. That's pushing it a little bit.
And I think if you say no, then it sounds so restrictive, and forbidden fruit tastes sweeter, right?
Exactly.
So it's better to just allow them to eat a little bit and then have a small taste of it. So for someone like you, do you take your meals 3 meals a day? Do you skip a meal?
Okay, so that's a very good question, because I'm a big advocate of 3 meals a day.
Okay.
And I personally do not snack.
Okay.
And it's because I have quite a sedentary, I sit in the clinic all day long.
Right.
So mainly 3 meals a day for myself. And I normally recommend to my patients 3 meals a day, 1 snack if you're exercising. And 1 snack if you feel that the gap between your lunch and your dinner is very big just because of work times.
Right.
But for most of us, for weight management, 3 meals a day is important.
So that's breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
That's right, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So I don't skip any meals at all. And that's why I don't snack. People who tend to eat maybe 2 meals a day. They will skip breakfast, which is extremely common. It doesn't matter if you're on the intermittent fasting diet or not. People just don't eat breakfast just because they're rushing out of the door, getting to the office. Their first meal happens at 12, and then they eat so much because they're famished. And then they might have a tiny little afternoon snack, like tea break, like curry puff, or all your afternoon tea breaks, and then dinner. So
I see.
And they tend to get packaged throughout the day too. So 3 meals a day I find works. It keeps the energy levels quite sustained throughout the entire day.
Yeah.
And within each meal as well, you must make sure that every meal has got some carbs, some protein, and some fiber. If you have that good composition of each meal, that's enough to get you through. You will get used to not having hunger pangs at all.
Yeah, and then you don't want to snack, because your aim is actually to get rid of all these snacks that's probably going to be ultra processed. But if you're taking your 3 meals, we're going to get whole foods, right?
That's correct.
So you're not a fan of intermittent fasting then?
Not at all.
Because it's so popular and everybody's doing it nowadays. Can you maybe just give us your opinion on it?
Okay, so intermittent fasting is not a diet. It's called time-restricted eating. It doesn't teach you anything about nutrition at all. It just says to eat within the 8 hours. Well, there are 2 types of intermittent fasting. There's one is the 16-8, whereby you eat for 8 hours, you don't eat and then you fast for 16 hours. And then there's a 5-2, whereby in the 2 days, I think you eat only 500 calories per day or nothing at all.
Yeah.
So, most of us do the 16-8. So why I don't like it is because if you eat a lot during the 8 hours, you're not going to lose any weight at all. But some people do it because they feel that they don't get that brain fog. They feel like that the mind is clearer. Maybe. If you think about it, if you were to shave off the other 16 hours that you're not eating, keeping everything the same, you'd have taken out at least about 1,000 calories. So you do lose weight. What I'm saying is that you can lose weight on it. I've got people who lost weight on it. But the problem I have with it is that it's not sustainable.
I see.
Yeah, like if you're going to have a lunch and dinner with friends, you're going to say, oh, I can't eat, it makes you more socially awkward. And if people have gastric, they get reflux, that's a problem.
Yes.
People who are diabetic, their sugar levels do drop. So I find there's more disadvantages than advantages to intermittent fasting.
Yeah. And I also have patients who do that and they actually tell me they don't lose weight. I think presumably because when you are so hungry, because you're fasted for so long, you tend to have less self-control when it comes to your lunch choices, right? Because usually you could have a smaller lunch, but if you've been fasting, I think you probably will go for the first food and you think you have the right to eat more. So I think that is a main problem for the intermittent fasting group. So you don't put your patients on any fast, because intermittent fasting is one, but I've heard of people who go on water fast for 3 days, 5 days, 7 days.
I've never put anyone on a fasting diet. I think that, but I have heard of people who've done water fast, like they say they only drink water.
Yes.
I don't know how they do it. I don't think that I can, because I'm thinking about the nutritional adequacy of that diet. Of course, maybe these people, they have a lot of stores, of energy stores, therefore they can burn it off. But I definitely would not recommend anyone doing that. It would be very unethical of me to put anyone on that diet.
I think you can lose weight, but my question again is, can it be sustainable? And will you put the weight back on? And how does it teach you about nutrition in the long run? I mean, what happens after the 7-day fast? What are you eating, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So when I look at any diets, I always throw the question back to the patient. Is this sustainable? Can you do this for the rest of your life? If the answer is no, then you shouldn't even start. Because if you're going to have to stop something, that means that the weight most likely will rebound again. So all this effort you've put in is going to be thrown down the drain.
Yeah.
And when the weight comes back on, you're going to feel so depressed. And then it becomes this whole vicious cycle, this yo-yo dieting, which you're trying to get people to avoid, because it's really harmful to mental health.
Yes, because actually there's so many eating disorders out there, from younger women to even middle-aged women having some sort of eating disorders because of all this social media. And everybody's on this whole drive to lose weight, but usually fad diets though. So diets, I don't know whether you can really say you can sustain for a lifetime, maybe 2 months, but I don't know if you can really just eat beef for,
It's very unlikely that they are able to sustain it for a long period of time.
Yeah.
If they're very focused and they actually do it, they most likely end up with a nutritional deficiency or an eating disorder. It may start off first as disordered eating, whereby it's not, it's not clinically diagnosed, but you just know that you're fearful of certain foods, and that can transform into an eating disorder.
Do you see a lot of clients with disordered eating?
I do see a lot of patients with anorexia nervosa and bulimia nervosa.
So they actually come to you for dietary advice? Because I just didn't think they would come to a dietitian, since their problem is they don't want to eat.
They don't want to, yes, that's right. They don't want to eat. Usually they're sent by their parents, or their doctors have sent them, say that you need some help with food, because their BMI is just very low, dangerously low. So that's when we have to work together with a psychiatrist. It's a team of us that work together, and we have to, help the patient regain back their nutritional adequacy in their diet and help them through whatever is going on.
So it's not just the people who are BMI high going to low, there's also the one that's too low trying to get to normal, right?
Yes, and I've seen many people in their quest to lose weight, to be healthier, they do end up with an eating disorder because they've taken it too far. So that's why we talk about calorie counting can lead to, for example, people getting too obsessed with numbers. And that's one of the symptoms of someone getting an eating disorder. They count their calories too much.
So how do you know if somebody has an eating disorder?
Okay, that's some clinical diagnosis that we have to go through.
Okay.
One of telltale signs is a drastic drop in their weight in a short amount of time.
Okay.
And then we talk to them, we get them to tell us what they've been eating. We realize that usually certain food groups have been missed out. Quantity is very small. And then some other symptoms like the hair loss is there.
Okay.
And sometimes you can tell just from their physique that they look quite malnourished.
And what is this age group that's most susceptible? Are they the young girls? Do guys get it?
I've seen guys, I've seen more ladies.
Really? Okay.
I've seen as young as 9 and
That's so
all the
young
way
nowadays.
to 50-ish, maybe a 50-year-old.
50-year-old having eating disorder? That's
and they've been struggling for maybe 20, 30 years of their life.
wow.
So it's a wide range. In fact, when I look on the streets, if I'm just sitting outdoors, like Orchard Road, you sit at Starbucks, let people walk by, you can count. You see one in like a few hundreds, you see people, and I'll be like, yeah. So it's
Really?
and it's getting more and more in Singapore now. It's
Really?
very scary.
Oh my goodness.
And they are undiagnosed. They're unaware they have it.
Okay.
Or maybe they know, but they are in denial. No one is helping them. They don't help themselves. But there's a much higher.
I guess, you know, it's important to diagnose it because one of the problems is nutritional deficiencies, right? For eating disorders, and you could be losing muscle, your bone could be affected in the long run. You don't see it now because you just want a slim physique, but there are long-term detrimental effects, right?
Yes, and the mortality rate is about 20%.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah.
Okay.
So actually it's a very serious disorder, and we have to work with psychiatrists to deal with this. I can't deal with it by myself at all.
So, you know, these diets that you recommend, are there different diets you recommend for different age groups? Like maybe somebody in the 20s, 30s, and then all the way to women in the menopause, should they be changing the diet, or you think follow one diet?
I think that at different stages of your life, you would follow a different diet.
Okay.
But I always tailor it. All my diets are very customized to the patient's current nutritional status and what their needs are, and then I build up on that. Okay. So there's not like when you're 20, 30, you follow this, and 50 to 60, you follow this. It all depends on the person. Like there are some 50-year-olds that are healthier than a 20-year-old. So it depends where they are. So everything's really customized. So there's no one-size-fits-all diet.
Okay.
The best diet is what they actually need for that point in time to meet their nutritional goals.
And also the physical activity, right? Because no point taking high protein if you don't have a stimulus like resistance training to build the muscle.
Yeah, that's right. So diet and exercise goes hand in hand.
Yeah.
You know, to build muscle, it sounds very common sense, but I tell patients that you have to eat protein to get exercise. If you eat a protein, you don't exercise, the muscle is not going to grow.
Yeah.
Or if you exercise a lot and you don't fuel yourself before and after well, you're not going to get the muscle tone or the body composition that you're going for.
Yeah. Actually, that makes a lot of sense because I do have patients who eat a lot of protein and they ask me why they're not getting more muscular, but they are not actually exercising. Then you have those clearly of eating disorders. They're exercising a lot, but they're also not getting muscle because they're not eating anything. So both extremes don't work.
Exactly. Yeah. Yes. So they go hand in hand.
Yeah. How about supplements then? Are you a believer in supplements?
Yes, I am a believer of supplements, but it's certain supplements as well. So supplements don't replace the actual food. It's literally a supplement. So I think for ladies, we should look at omega-3 fatty acids because I think we don't eat enough fish. And omega-3 helps us with like brain health, helps us be calmer as well, helps to prevent depression.
Okay. Yep.
Vitamin D, although we live in sunny Singapore, you know, we don't stay out in the sun as much. And anyway, 2/3 of the world's population are vitamin D deficient anyway. So it won't hurt to take a vitamin D supplement.
Yes.
I think these days people are a bit more aware. Ever since COVID happened, everyone's talking about vitamin D, all the blood tests, and doctors are, and it's the right thing to do. They're checking the vitamin D levels because it's impact on immunity. So a lot of patients, they are vitamin D deficient. So the doctors give them high dose of vitamin D. Calcium is important as well to prevent osteoporosis.
Oh, that's good.
So we should. It's okay for us to take a calcium supplement if we don't eat enough dairy.
Okay.
Yeah. So maybe at least 1 or 2 tablets a day. So I think these are the 3 supplements that I do recommend, and sometimes a probiotic too.
Yeah, you did mention a
so
probiotic.
maybe these 4. So even if you take this, it's very safe. Other supplements, it really depends on your current state of health.
Any difference if, let's say, a man and a woman in terms of the diet you recommend? Like maybe a man, you would have more protein or get them to eat more dairy, stuff like that?
I think for men, yes, they might need more protein because they have more musculature than us ladies just by genetics.
Yeah.
And then the carbohydrate intake, it really depends on the activity level, where they're at. Are they underweight, overweight, normal weight? So where they are. But yeah, men, you put a man and woman side by side, like same BMI, the men will probably need more nutrition. I mean, like more protein than a lady, just because of the just having more muscle mass.
Okay. And wait, just as a side note, do you actually recommend exercise regimes for your clients too, or just diets?
I do touch on it a little bit if they do ask me, because I do want to make sure that I complement my food with the exercise. So I try and ask them what they do, and a lot of times for ladies, we want to reduce our abdominal fat.
Yes.
Yeah. So unfortunately, we can't target the abdominal fat with food, but I do try and make sure that they do a good mixture of cardio, a bit of abs workout. You know, everything has to complement each other. You can't target it. So I do give a little bit of advice, but if they need more, I send them to a personal trainer, maybe a physiotherapist for more structured and more tailored advice.
That makes sense. And you know, just now I missed this question. You were saying that you have 3 meals a day. Is there a minimum time between your dinner and the time you sleep?
Okay, for dinner to the time I sleep, I don't, because sometimes I might have to have late dinners just because I have to do things. But I do have a rough gap between my breakfast and my lunch, which is about 4 to 5 hours. And then between lunch and dinner, between like 6 to 8 hours.
Right.
Yeah, so that is a gap that
because you want
follow.
to space your meals out quite evenly throughout the day.
Yes.
That's the plan.
That's right, yeah.
Right, but you don't have like, I have to have dinner before 6:30 or 7, no.
No, I don't have that. And I don't think that's really necessary in the first place. You know, and I think last time they used to say eat before 7 or
but
don't
sometimes
eat
you're
past 8.
not even home yet.
Yeah, not even home yet. It's just difficult just because you're just busy. And think about it, if you follow that rule, imagine night shift workers, what are you going to do? So I find that all these rules is a bit like what we call time restricted eating. They're just guides. Sometimes people, they just want to hear it. Maybe it helps them eat. It helps them not have midnight snacks. So if that helps you, it's fine. But I just want everyone to know that there's nothing magical that happens after 8 p.m. or before 8 p.m. Nothing happens, you know. But some people just need that rule to follow.
So what is your biggest meal then? Say breakfast, lunch and dinner. Is dinner the biggest? Is lunch the biggest?
So breakfast is the smallest. Lunch and dinner are the same. Now the reason for that is because if you have a very big lunch and a small dinner, what happens to your stomach capacity is it stretches and then it shrinks. So this means that, you know, your body gets a bit confused, and if you're trying to lose weight, you know, you don't want your stomach to expand and contract so drastically. Your body loves consistency.
Actually, that's such a good point because, you know, besides the time restricted eating, I have a lot of patients on fat diets. I have those that do OMAD, which is once a day. So they usually, guys, maybe they're more motivated, and they tell me they don't eat the whole day, but they'll have one meal, which is dinner. But their dinner is massive. So I can't imagine what kind of stretching it does to their stomach. And I guess I'm also very concerned having such a big last meal, you know?
Yes, your body can only handle a certain amount of food and calories at one time. If you have so much, you're stressing your liver, your kidneys, and you know, they're probably storing fat. I don't know how successful they are with their weight loss, but if you eat too much, the excess will be converted to fat. So I'm not sure they're trying to do OMAD because they're trying to lose weight, because I don't think they're going to be very successful. And it's also very short term.
I think it's hard to actually keep it up, you know, because the whole day you're actually sort of starving and hungry, so you're a bit hangry the whole day, and then they eat a lot at night.
So going back to what I'm saying is that, can you sustain this diet for the rest of your life? If you can't, don't even start.
Yes, it's true.
Some people just want to try it. I had someone who did the OMAD diet. She was put on this diet by her family because they wanted her to lose weight. And then what I found out was that she was snacking. She was trying to like steal like small little Skittles and candies in her mouth during the day because she was just so hungry. Poor thing.
Oh my God, that's terrible.
That's terrible. So it's very hard to stick to that kind of diet if you lead a very normal lifestyle.
Yes.
And I think it's very harmful. It leads to eating disorders.
And suddenly you have no friends because during lunch you cannot join them.
Yes, and you're not a very fun person to be around with as well. So, you know, like OMAD and things like that, like I don't believe any like trendy fat diets.
Wow, I mean, you know, all this advice you're giving is such a breath of fresh air because it suddenly makes me feel normal because everybody's doing all these amazing feats of dieting, and I sometimes feel bad just having breakfast because nobody else in Singapore seems to be having breakfast. Okay, give me an idea on what is breakfast for you.
Okay, also for myself? Okay, so I eat a variety of breakfast. Okay, so I have my cereal. I do like all bran with milk, you know, but I also do like my Jaclyn, eggs with toast. I also do good at hawker centre as well. So I sometimes eat like the vegetarian beehoons. But
so it's moderation,
it's very moderation,
right?
yes. And
it's the portion
control.
It's the
portion, exactly. I will like tell them, give me half of the noodles. And sometimes they're so shy to even give me the portions I'm supposed to eat. But I say, yes, that's all I want. So I do eat a variety of Western and local foods. So I believe breakfast is very important.
But it sounds very reasonable. Like, I can do that. I can totally do that.
Yes, it's all about portion control. You know, you may ask, do I eat like things like carrot cake, all the fried foods? Very occasionally. Occasionally. So I'm always mindful of what I'm eating.
But you don't really omit anything, but just if it's something really simple, occasionally or smaller portions. Okay. How about lunch then?
Lunch also varies as well. Depends like what is around me. So my office is at Camden. So if I got time, run to Tanglin Mall, so they have all these little cafes. I can get a sandwich, I can get a wrap.
And that's all okay for you?
It's all okay for me.
Right.
They've got the fishbowl noodles downstairs.
Also okay for you?
It's also okay, but I don't eat, or I eat half the noodles. It's too much. I tell them less, now they know me, but I even eat lesser than that.
Okay.
Yeah.
But that's because you've had breakfast, so you're not
Yes.
that hungry.
No.
Imagine if you didn't have breakfast, then I don't think that would be possible.
A little trick is that you must be a bit hungry before each meal to know that you have not overeaten. At least that works for most of my patients and me. I just tell them to be in tune with their hunger pangs.
Yes.
Sometimes we just overate, right?
Yeah.
Unintentionally. Then I might eat a bit lesser for dinner, but I don't cut my dinner by half. I always eat because the dinner has to last me for 12 hours till the next morning.
Yes. And you don't want to wake up ravenous and then, okay. So the trick is actually to space out your meals, and you don't want to skip anything because you don't want to have too much hunger that you cannot control your cravings, right? Then you start thinking of.
That's right. So never eat in a frenzy. When you eat in a frenzy, you make all the bad choices. Because sometimes I also might have a very small lunch just because I don't have time, or I know that I've got things to do. I might have a small lunch. Then I might put in a snack in the middle of the afternoon.
Okay.
So a bit of planning helps.
Okay.
Put a little bit of effort into your diet. People just think, oh, it's okay, I just eat on the go. But a bit of planning really helps you make better choices.
Yeah. Because, I've actually tried having smaller dinners, but all that happened was I was dreaming about laksa the whole night and dreaming about food the whole night. So I don't think that's such a good idea. Yeah.
No, especially dinner. If you're not going to, most of us shouldn't snack after dinner.
Yeah.
Some of us eat after dinner maybe because some people work out after dinner, just because timing happens, so they have to have a protein snack, it's fine.
Yeah.
But if dinner's your last meal of the day, don't be afraid to eat. Eat your carbs, eat your protein, eat your vegetables. Look at the quantities. Because that's to carry you through for at least 12 to even 14 hours the next day.
Do you drink coffee in the morning or afternoon?
I do. I have 1 or 2 cups of coffee a day.
And that's okay for you as well?
That's okay. In fact, 2 cups of coffee is good for heart and your lungs.
Okay.
Sorry, heart and your liver.
Okay. So, you're not very restrictive at all. Everything that you eat, I think I can do it too.
I'm not restrictive at all.
Yeah.
I'm just very mindful of the portion sizes that I eat, so that I have a very relaxed relationship with food.
Yeah, and this you have been doing it for years.
Very, very long time.
Okay.
A very long time. Many, many years actually.
Yeah,
I've also been through, in my early years, even when I was studying nutrition, I did try these fat diets. So I do know how people feel, and then I know how bad it is. So when I talk to my patients, I can relate to them.
Yes, okay. So how about dinner? Tell me about your dinner. What is it like?
Dinner can be, so it's the same thing, carbs, protein, fiber.
Okay.
It can be, so if it's like Western, it can be pasta, potato. If it's Asian, it's rice or noodles. Okay. And then I always have a protein, and I try and get as much vegetables as I can, because in our local context, it's hard to get vegetables. I have to look for it. If I'm at home, no problem. Of course, when I'm outside, depending, do I want to spend $9 for vegetables? I'm not sure. So you look at it. But if I do go out with friends, I always make sure we order a vegetable dish, and we all share. And I make sure they get the vegetables in.
Oh,
it could even be
good.
the first time eating vegetables for the week.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, you're a very good friend.
Yeah, very.
I only just order wine for them. So how about alcohol?
So I do drink alcohol.
Yeah.
But I don't drink in excess amounts. But 1 or 2 glasses, no problem at all.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's not every day. So out of 7 days, you should keep 2 days alcohol free.
Well, that's very reasonable. I mean,
Yes.
that's very doable. I thought you were going to say I drink alcohol once a month or something.
No, I drink a bit more than that.
Okay, so basically everything is okay. But one thing you never eat, tell us, what is that? One thing you will never eat. Soda, Snickers.
Coke. I will never drink regular Coke.
Never drink regular Coke.
I will never drink regular Coke.
Okay.
Yeah, because
it's high sugar content.
It's very high
right?
sugar. It spikes, and I don't mind Diet Coke. I don't know what this is. I just refuse to have. Oh, one more thing, bubble tea as well. I will not do bubble teas. I will not do highly sweetened beverages. To me, there is no place in your diet for that at all. I rather do a smoothie if I need something sweet, but I won't do bubble tea or Coke.
I've had a patient who just gained weight just by drinking bubble tea. And she says, how is that possible? But the only change was bubble tea.
So bubble tea is like having an extra meal. So
but you don't feel that full,
Well, because they enjoy it so much, they don't think it's anything, but it makes them high, makes them happy. Just by drinking even 0% sugar bubble tea, there's still calories from the other ingredients.
Yes.
Like if you had lunch and then you go and queue up for bubble tea, you're having 2 lunches in the span of 1 hour. Of course, there's going to be excess calories because you're not going to be running 10K after your lunch. And that's all going to be converted to fat. So that's how her weight came about.
Yes. How about McDonald's?
McDonald's.
Would you eat McDonald's?
I would, and of course I have.
Okay.
If I do eat McDonald's, I'll just eat a burger, no fries, no Coke.
Okay.
But the last time I had a McDonald's burger was, I can't even remember
10 years
when.
ago, probably.
No, maybe less, but this definitely not in
So
this
it's the
year.
fries and Coke. So if you have the burger, it's still okay.
It's still better than having the whole world, and I will only do that if everybody wants it and I don't want to be a party pooper. I'll just have the simplest burger that I can find.
So basically for every situation, you're okay with that. You're just going to make do and make the best out of it, right? Okay.
Yes.
Now, there are a few hacks I was reading up online, and they were saying that you have to fridge your rice overnight. It lowers the glycemic index. Do you do that with your own rice at home?
No, I don't at all. If it's in the fridge, it's because it's leftovers from the day before. Because what's more important is the quantity.
Right.
Because if you had this low glycemic index rice, but you eat 3 cups of it, then that defeats the whole purpose of it.
Because it sounds to me like your meals mainly a lot of vegetables and maybe a bit of like plant-based protein, and your carbs, even though you do say you have carbs, is really a very minor portion, right?
I would say a cup full. I would eat a full cup of rice, no issue at all. One
Right.
full cup of rice, a full cup of noodles. So if you look at what is 1 cup of noodles? If you were to eat like, our mee pok, for example, they tend to give you 1.5 to 2 cups of noodles.
Oh, okay.
That's why I cut it into half. So I get
I
my
didn't
1
realize.
cup.
Okay.
Yes. So I do need to eat my carbs. Otherwise, I will feel faint. My sugar
really?
levels will drop. I will have hypoglycemia.
Interestingly, I also have patients that are on continuous glucose monitoring even when they're not diabetic. Is the latest fad.
Yes.
What do you think of that?
So I've been on that too.
Oh, okay.
I've tried it before, and
Okay.
I've also monitored my own glucose level. I think if everyone could just do that, just to know how the blood sugar reacts for the entire day and to certain foods, it's actually a very useful exercise.
Because different people's blood sugar is going to spike differently, right? It's not all going to be the same, right?
It's very unique to each person. Like for example, rice may spike your sugar levels, but noodles don't. That means that you can eat noodles more often than rice, and if you do eat rice, you really have to control the portions. So it's your own little experiment.
Okay.
So that's why for me, I have to eat my carbs, because if I don't eat my carbs, and you need to also know that when you drink alcohol, it's going to drop your blood sugar levels too. So make sure before you drink, you must eat something. Otherwise you get hypoglycemia.
Yeah, that's interesting because my patient was married to a French guy, and when her husband took croissants, it didn't spike as much as when she did. Maybe it's just a variation.
It's a variation. It's between it's unique to you.
I see.
So she might maybe handle rice better than him, and so on.
Okay.
So your blood sugar spikes actually also affects your appetite. Because if you get big dips, you're going to get huge. Your appetite is going to be. You're going to have a bigger appetite because you just need to fuel yourself.
Okay. So the main thing that your main principle is to keep your blood sugar constant, keep your hunger at bay, make sure that you're hydrated. Is there any other points we have missed out that we should be telling our listeners?
Please have a wide variety of foods. Don't just eat one kind of carb, only one kind of protein, only one kind of vegetables and fruits. Try and have at least 5 to 10 different fruits and vegetables a week.
Any fruits that we should be avoiding? Durians, okay?
Yes, but limit to 3 seeds maybe. Limit to a cup. How much ever flesh you want to fit into 1 cup. You want to get the smallest. It's the measuring cup they use for baking. It's usually a 240 ml cup.
Okay.
So get a wide variety of foods. Don't focus so much on nutrient specific or calorie specific. Just eat a wide variety. Be free. If you find yourself being overly restrictive, something is wrong. Seek a dietitian's help if they need to just manage their food intake for a while. Just some proper guidance. Whatever you see on social media or the internet, take it with a pinch of salt. Try and verify it. Go to reputable sources.
Okay. So if somebody comes and see you, it can be either wanting to lose weight, wanting to gain weight, helping to measure their blood sugar. What would you do for them?
So, depending on where they currently are at, I will assess the current diet intake, and then I'll make adjustments from there. And I would always find a diet that is suitable for them. So I even get to know like where do they work, what's available for them. And there's a really customized plan.
Right, so you give them options of what they can eat in the beginning, and they just follow the plan?
Yes, and including portion sizes. Portion size is what is most important actually. At the end of the day, it's portion sizes.
I see. Okay. Is there any take-home messages for our listeners that you want to tell them about living a healthy life?
I think everybody needs to have a healthy relationship with food.
Yes, I
agree. Eat a wide variety. Please don't leave out carbohydrates. They're very essential. Eat your protein and don't forget your fruits and vegetables.
Actually, I love your message. I like the idea that it's relaxed approach. It is totally different from what I'm hearing. In fact, I thought you were going to come here today to tell me not to eat carbs ever again, that I cannot drink coffee, that I cannot drink alcohol. So, I'm like trying to hide away all these things behind. So it's very good that, everything's okay. It's just about the quantity. So, I think I can manage that. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to this enlightening episode of Fad or Fab, Diet Trends Decoded with a Nutritionist. We hope you found our conversation with Jaclyn Reutens as insightful and inspiring as we did. Remember, your journey to better health and fitness is unique, and having the right nutrition plan can make all the difference. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, leave us a review, and share it with your friends. Stay healthy, stay strong, and we'll see you next time.